So she's had a spiral notebook being given by Miss Banbury, and I just find that amazing. So anyway, we'll carry on from there, and she can write it in the chokey and leave it in her desk. There, and that she won't read it or anything. I look at her skeptically. I like Heather and everything, but even I don't trust a school employee not to read my journal, especially if it was locked in her office drawer. I know what you are thinking, she says, rolling her eyes, but I'm just going to put a few markers in to make sure she's not turning the pages. How? I ask, as we saunter into the canteen for our pre-class cup of tea. She lays the book down and closes her eyes. She plucks at her eyelashes, then lays one on the front page. If she moves the journal, it will move too. I'm sure she won't, I smile, happy that Fiona is finally getting help. The first bell goes, so Lily and I file into our class, while Fiona heads upstairs. School is getting slightly more manageable for me and Lily, especially since we no longer have to keep up with the huge class of girls who are achieving at a much higher level. The teacher goes slower. People are less ashamed of putting their hand up to say they don't quite understand something, which is why it's so weird that this class doesn't start as it normally does, with us getting our homework back. Instead, it starts like this. For the next week, Miss Marshall, the history teacher, begins. I want an essay on the US President, Lyndon B. Johnson. His visions of the greater society and why it failed. I look at Lily, wondering if I've missed a class somewhere. We've not done Lyndon B. Johnson yet, so it's weird to open the class telling us about an essay we are going to write about him. At the age of 64, Miss Marshall continues, former President Lyndon B. Johnson died at Stonewall, Texas, the same place he was born. There's something little odd about all this, and maybe I'm only really recognizing it because history is my best subject, and there is therefore tend to be the place where I pay the most attention. Miss Marshall starts talking about Lyndon B. Johnson's death, and then his presidency, and then his hopes for the presidency and the Kennedy assassination. She then ends the lecture with the words, Lyndon B. Johnson was born in Stonewall, Texas, 1908. The class finishes like it should have begun, with her handing out last week's homework, graded. It is just me. I turn to Lily. Or was the class completely backward? She looks up, and I realize she was barely paying attention, instead drawing pictures of great tidal waves of water bursting out of a little stone well. I thought it was a fluke. But then, that is Miss Marshall. Was just having an off day? And maybe she bumped her head before going to bed last night? But it keeps happening. It keeps happening all day. In maths, we have equations where we start with the answer and end with the problem. In Irish class, Miss Heaney begins with a discussion of the themes of a poem and ends with a poem itself. And the weirdest part is, no one finds any of this remotely strange. People are listening or picking their nails or taking notes. Lily is completely the wrong audience to ask if someone is strange, because she thinks most of the pillars of the ordinary world, work, school, banks, are a bit weird anyway. At lunch, I tell Fiona about the plan to go to Aaron's apartment. She's immediately game. Infiltrate the enemy, Fiona says, with relish. I have always wanted to go to that stupid apartment, and for the first time we don't call Rose to fill him in on the plan. We don't even discuss it. There seems to be an understanding that he is away from us now, at least for the time being, and that there is nothing to do but soldier on and hope he catches up. At 4 p.m, the three of us set down the hill and over the bridge, heading to the south side where the Elysian Quarter apartments are. Fiona looks tired and far less joyous than she did this morning. You okay, Fi? Yeah, she chirps. I don't know. Weird day. Weird how? Weird like, I don't know, my classes were weird. I slow down, like backward. Fi's eyes widen. Yes, all back to front. Oh my God, Fi, I shake my head. I thought I was going nuts. Is this part of it? I say hesitantly, because I know that Fiona is still patchy on the well theory. Is this part of everyone going soft? Soft and backward? She wrinkles her nose. I don't know. It's just the teachers, though. My parents are still the same. Are yours? Yes, Lil says. Same, she says. Weird, but the same level of weird they always were. The apartment is only 15-minute ample from the city centre, and the last gasp of autumn sunshine warms our hair as we walk through the riverside trees of Kilbeg. There's a freshness, a bright coolness in the air, and everything seems clean and looks clean. One of the bakeries is starting to close for the day, and the cashier is shredding old donuts and scattering them for the seagulls that have come in from the river bank. Lily clicks her tongue at them like they are dogs. I remember then Miss Banbury's idea about Japan. It all seems so distant, so like a pipe dream. I wonder if it will happen, and if Kilbeg will look different when I get back. I find the address still sitting in my notes app. A whole other world ago. Apartment 44, floor 8, Elysian Quarter. A sudden, painful crunch of memory of Rue O'Callaghan holding my hand as we bolted out of the apartment after Aaron's recruitment meeting, until in our hatred of the same thing. When we get to the apartment complex, we spy the concierge still on duty through the glass double doors. Suddenly become very conscious of our lack of plan, and then realize that the concierge himself presents an opportunity. He could have something that belongs to Aaron. My brother's concierge sorts everything out for him, even his dry cleaning suits. It could be a perfect way of binding Aaron without endangering ourselves by actually going up to the flat. Fiona and I decided to approach him together while Lily stands guard. Hi, Fiona says, facing the concierge, a slight bashful smile already forming on her face. Aaron, in apartment 44, was wondering if his package had come yet. He blinks at her. He said you would know all about it. She smiles, and her manner is exactly like someone who could either be lowly assistant or a lowly girlfriend. It's impossible to tell which. Who? Aaron, she says. Apartment 44, the 8th floor. She's keeping her tone bouncy and professional, if a little stupid, to cover for the fact that we do not know Aaron's last name. How on earth do we not know it? He's been on the radio enough times, but somehow it never comes up. He's always Aaron from The Children of Bridget. American chap, he says. Yes, she gushes. He's been gone weeks, the concierge says, confused. Moved out in September. Yes, exactly. Almost squeals. She also almost squeaks, or squeals. I would say squeak. He sent me to pick up his package, he said. You would know all about it, he said. Peter will know. He is wearing a Peter name tag, which clearly Fiona clocked the moment she came in. Yet hearing his own name seems to convince him of her authenticity. Ah, he says, getting reluctantly out of his chair. He starts poking at the row of letterboxes behind him. No package, no idea what's that about. But I have this post, all right. I thought he would come to collect it when he didn't give a forwarding address. Yes, she says excitedly. He said it might be a package, or it might be a letter. I'm utterly dazed when he falls for it, and even more dumbstruck when he hands her a stack of unopened letters from the postbox marked 44. And that was chapter 22. Well, I hope we're going to find out in the next chapter what is in these letters. He hasn't touched them, so how are they going to bind him or bond him, as they say? See you in the next chapter. Ciao, ciao.